Welcome back into the Sean podcast. I am the Big Ush. This is the Cat Daddy. We are back here to give you some amateur opinion, entertain you, and give you a break from the mundane nonsense of people overreacting and going nonsense. I said nonsense twice. And who am I? Who am I fooling? We probably gonna overreact to some things, but you won't catch us yelling and screaming for no reason and promoting, nonsense storylines that mean nothing. But without further ado, I've taken up enough time. Mr. Cat Daddy, what's on your mind?
Ooh, another good week of football. I like Thanksgiving because there's 3 games. Got the morning, got the afternoon, got the evening game going on. Always enjoy a day with 3 games of football. So hope everybody had... Yeah. Hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving and took my words of wisdom last week and wore stretchy pants. Hopefully.
Stretchy pants. All right. Without further ado, we're going to jump right into it, and we're going to jump into that first game. The Bears traveled to Detroit, face those Bills. I could have done without, I'm being honest with you. I mean, how long before we start talking about Dan Campbell being on a possible hot seat watching, even though I don't like doing that, but your team ain't won a game, bruh.
Yeah, I want to get to that point. First, I just want to say that the early in-game injury to DeAndre Swift really lessened the overall quality of the Lions team and the quality of this game. I'm convinced that if he stayed in the game, played a complete game, the Lions would be celebrating their first win. To your point of Dan Campbell, now I'm not saying Dan Campbell should be on hot seats like the fella on the other sideline, but there's some rookie head coaching mistakes going on that he needs to learn from. And what happened late in the fourth quarter gets my WTF moment of the week. So we're getting started real early with it.
All right.
Forget that the Bears had possession of the ball for the final 8 minutes and 30 seconds of the game because the Detroit Lions defense couldn't stop them. Let's start at the 2-minute warning. The Bears have a 2nd and 10. They run David Montgomery for 1 yard. Lions call a timeout. Perfect. That's exactly what you need to do. What is inexcusable coaching is that following the timeout, the Lions sent 12 men onto the field. You just came out of timeouts. Where's the confusion? And at this point, you have 2 choices. You either take the penalty for too many men on the field, you give Chicago 5 free yards, and you get to keep a timeout, or you take a second consecutive timeout, which means you avoid too many men on the field, and instead you receive a game penalty because you can't call back-to-back timeouts, and at the same time, you're essentially wasting your second timeout. Chicago's getting 5 yards regardless, whether it's
they called the second timeout, didn't they?
Whether it's through too many men, whether it's through the delay of game, Chicago's getting a free 5 yards. Why wouldn't you keep your timeouts?
This is a good question. I cannot answer it.
All of this helped the Bears stop their losing streak at 5 games and allow for an enjoyable Thanksgiving trip back to Chicago because Chicago was able to convert on the 3rd down, so it was 3rd and 5 instead of a 3rd and 9, or sorry, a 3rd and 4 instead of a 3rd and 9. Able to convert it. They ran down the clock until they kicked a field goal with no time remaining. Now, the 8.5-minute drive that they had to end the game, that was really impressive, but I don't think that goes a long way into saving Matt Nagy's job. But you can hear more about that in our other episode where we talk about coaches on the hot seat, and the Lions are still winless. Dan Campbell is signed to a 6-year deal, and they weren't expecting to win anyways, at least not right away. But still, it's got to hurt to be winless.
Seriously.
But I guess they'll be happy to draft Kayvon Thibodeau in 5 months.
All right. So the next game, The Raiders came into Dallas and beat the Dallas Cowboys 36-33 in overtime. And I've got thoughts, so I'm going to share them.
You want me to give my thoughts first, then you can go?
All right, go ahead.
All right. So this was another game that was affected by injuries. CeeDee Lamb was not able to clear concussion protocol in order to play in this game. Darren Waller's day was done before halftime due to a knee injury. This game was more affected by the referees because they called a ridiculous 28 penalties. Purely ridiculousness. Dallas's defense, outside of Micah Parsons, wasn't playing very well, especially Anthony Brown in the secondary. He had 4 pass interference calls against him.
Got thoughts on that?
I know. That last one stuff, the game-winning field goal.
Not just the last one, but go ahead.
Yeah, but that last one, especially with the magnitude and the point of the game, was ridiculous because there's no way he could have made a play on the ball because Zay Jones was cradling his helmet. There's no way he could have made that play.
But the ball fell like 2 yards, like 5 yards short of them.
It wasn't catchable. And my last point is congratulations to Mike Parsons for racking up his 9th sack this season and becoming the new owner of the Dallas Cowboys rookie sack record, which had been previously owned by DeMarcus Ware.
Good company there. All right,
Yes.
My points.
Yes. Go.
First part of this, it's hard to win when you have injuries and illness stuff. You got coaches out because of COVID. You got players out because of COVID. You got players out because of injury. Believe it or not, people don't realize this. And I know you still got to play the games, but Dallas has something like between 9 to 14 players that are on either the COVID list or on injury, and they had something like they had about 5 coaches out during this game. It was, and they were still competitive. I just think it's nonsense that people want to say how Dak's not good. He can't do it unless everything's perfect. And I got to remind people, Tom Brady didn't put up numbers until Randy Moss got there. Tom Brady had an elite defense and a darn good running game. Shut up, people. Be mindful of what you're talking about. Context matters. There's no quarterback in the history of this game that did it all by himself. Even Aaron Rodgers, when he won his Super Bowl, had weapons, had a badass defense. Charles Woodson was the man.
Was. Oh, man. His jersey got retired this weekend, too. Man, I love some Charles Woodson.
What I'm saying.
Yeah.
Let's not act like these players do it all by themselves. It's not what happens. But even more than that, it's hard to win a game when you're doing it with your hand tied behind your back. I don't know if you saw the Anthony Brown penalties, but maybe 2 of them were legit. Maybe. At least 2 of them were ticky-tacky nonsense, especially the one at the end of the game. That was just straight stupid. Not to mention, they weren't calling the same type of PIs on the Raiders. So yes, I'm going full conspiracy on you. If you don't believe the league is against the Cowboys, I talked about how the penalties were in the KC game. The bias penalties here. And wait, I got one more thing for you. Yes, there was a bit of a fight during the game. Tristan Hill threw a haymaker at one of the Raiders. He gets suspended 2 games, even though there's guys like Kadarius Toney who's thrown a punch this year and just got fined. There's the guy from the Steelers, Cam Hayward, who basically punched Justin Fields' gut while he was on the ground. He did a Donkey Kong slam onto him.
Oh yeah, Justin Herbert. Yeah, that was my WTF moment last week. That was ridiculous.
Herbert, yeah, when he does the Donkey Kong bang onto him. Nothing Nothing for the. There was another guy this past weekend that did a butt punch to somebody, and yet Tristan Hill gets suspended. I wonder. Just, just saying there. Just saying. Otherwise, from that, something good for you, Raiders. You pulled out a win. I'm not knocking you for that, but you got an assist by the refs. Let's move on to the Bills. The Bills went into New Orleans and just destroyed those Saints, 31-6. Go ahead, Sean.
Probably games like this where the Saints wish they had Drew Brees back in uniform. I mean, at this point, the Saints wish they had Jameis Winston back right now. Because when you look at it, in the games that Jameis Winston started and finished, the Saints were 4-2. Including the game where he was injured, the Saints have gone 1-4. The Saints have not won a game that Jameis has not started.
And they won that game, by the way.
Exactly.
They won the game.
That's the only one they have won. They have not won a single game this year that Jameis hasn't started. They should really work on retaining Jameis Winston this offseason. I don't know about drafting a rookie quarterback, but Jameis Winston seems like he could be the answer. And it's also games like this that the Saints are probably thinking, man, we really shouldn't have released Latavius Murray during the offseason by doing him dirty and asking him for a pay cut right before the season began. Because, man, this was an ugly game for the Saints on offense.
Also, Sean, I gotta say, Sean Payton, it's not Aaron Rodgers on your team right now. I'm just gonna say that because and your stud receiver, because Aaron Rodgers still has a stud receiver. His name's Devontae Adams. Michael Thomas ain't walking through the door this year. You trying to get all these late round guys at wide receiver to try to mount a team has not been working. The Saints, just like the Packers, need to invest in offensive talent earlier than late. On the other note, the Bills look good. Now, I'll say more so because of the offense, because the Saints have a good defense. And Josh Allen had a bit of a bounce back game. What's in there? Stephon Diggs made Latimer look stupid on that touchdown.
He embarrassed him on that catch.
Lord.
Love that route running. Love it.
Next up, we had the Pittsburgh Steelers go into Cincinnati. And the first time since, 2008, I think it was, Pittsburgh has been swept by the Cincinnati Bengals. And they swept them hard, 41-10. Good Lord.
Didn't they beat the Steelers by 30 points earlier in the season, too?
Yeah, they beat them down.
Man.
Got their number. And, big ups to Mike Hilton for getting his little revenge on Ben Roethlisberger and them Steelers, saying, oh, you don't want to sign me? I'll just score a touchdown.
Ooh, yeah, good game for the Bengals, especially in offense. I've noticed that coming out of the bye week, the Cincinnati has more of a game plan to establish the run, not have Joe Burrow throw as much, and Joe Mixon certainly made that Pittsburgh defense pay. Granted, the Pittsburgh defense was missing a couple of pieces. It still didn't look good. On the other side, for the Pittsburgh offense, they were like par for the course, right? It wasn't as if they played worse than they have at any other point in the year. It's just, is this what the Pittsburgh offense has become?
I mean, I guess.
Man, they really should have focused on the offensive line, because Najee Harris isn't getting himself any running lane.
Wait, that team building stuff that we were talking about before? Nonsense. Anyways, moving on. We have the Buccaneers. They went into Indy, had a bit of a scare early on, and they pulled one out, 38-31. Do not give Tom Brady the credit for this win, gosh dang it. Tom Brady did not play. He didn't play bad, but he didn't play particularly well in this game. The defense and Leonard Fournette made this game.
Absolutely. And it was a good game because it was It was a close game. It was a tight game. But it wasn't a very good game that was played between the two teams. I kind of thought some of the play was more sloppy than I would have expected for the Colts or even the Buccaneers.
All right, next up, the Panthers have pulled a full, complete meltdown. From initially going 3-0, they are now 5-7. They go into Miami, and Miami beats them 33-10. Miami, on the other hand, has done the opposite. Starting out with one win, they have rattled off 4 in a row. Since Sean was sitting there trying to talk about how Brian Flores should have been on the hot seat,
he felt it too. He felt it.
Tua Tagovailoa has played very well the last couple of weeks. Take that, all you Deshaun Watson people.
Yeah, it looks like Miami has found their stride. The offense is getting creative, and it was especially creative and tricky in this one. They had at least 3 plays that I counted where the quarterback was not the one taking the snap. You had the 2 wildcat runs by Gaskins that resulted in a touchdown, and then you had the 4th and 1 converted by their tight end, Durham Smythe. The defense is playing well. It's playing aggressive. They've really found that stride, and I loved Jalen Waddle's Waddle celebration. I need to see more of that. But this is where everything starts to get ugly, and it's not directed toward Miami this time. It's directed toward Carolina. Absolutely. Carolina needs to reevaluate the quarterback position in the worst way possible. They put a lot of resources into the quarterback position, and they're not paying off. Let me give you a quick timeline, because these are moves that could haunt a GM and eventually get them fired. March 2020, Carolina Panthers announced the release of Cam Newton, who started just 2 games during the 2019 season due to a Lisfranc fracture. His release was due to regression and injury issues. March 2020, the day after announcing Cam's release, the Panthers signed Teddy Bridgewater to a $63 million 3-year deal. Bridgewater, if we remember correctly, was a very hot commodity because he filled in very well for an injured Drew Brees, and he kept the Saints season alive. Now, fast forward to April 21. After a season of poor play, mostly without Christian McCaffrey, the Panthers acquired Sam Darnold from the Jets for it was a 6th rounder in 21, and then they gave up their 2nd and 4th in 22's draft, and then they traded Teddy Bridgewater to Denver in return for a 6th round selection. Fast forward to November of 21. After Sam Darnold has melted down, shown that he is largely ineffective and now injured, the Panthers turn back to Cam Newton. Fast forward to this weekend. Cam Newton is who I thought Cam Newton was. 5 of 21, 92 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. 64 of those yards were on one single play where he found a wide open DJ Moore. Otherwise, his numbers looked so much worse. I knew that Cam Newton was not going to be the answer or an answer for Carolina at quarterback, but they continue to make poor decisions when it comes to that quarterback position. And now you think of all the resources that they've wasted. If they wanted this current record, they should have just stuck with Teddy Bridgewater.
Or stuck with Cam to begin with.
Or stuck. Exactly. Because you got essentially the same play out of Cam Newton.
Or maybe do what we said. Or maybe do what we said.
Justin Fields, Mac Jones, you can trade up.
But
what do we know? What do we?
Moving on. The Tennessee Titans, the beat up Tennessee Titans, go into New England and get beat up. That aforementioned Mac Jones played a very nice game, solid game, but New England wins the way. Oh, wait. Was it I said earlier? How Tom Brady won early in his career. fantastic defense, great running game, and then the quarterback limiting mistakes. Now, no, I'm not knocking Mac Jones. He makes plays, but he limits the mistakes that he is putting out there on the field because he knows that defense can get him the ball back. On the other hand, Ryan Tannehill has regressed to Miami Ryan Tannehill. Now, that's not his fault.
No.
I mean, Derrick Henry, gone.
Julio Jones.
A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
Didn't play, I don't think, right?
Nope.
Julio Jones, where he at? I mean, that's your offense right there, bruh. What Jonnu Smith? He's on the other side.
Yeah, this is a game where Tennessee comes in and they're missing their three biggest offensive weapons with Henry, Jones, Brown. Their passing game, I think Ryan Tannehill finished with 92 yards.
93, but
Yep.
I had to look it up for fans because I said don't trust him.
Tennessee did run surprisingly well in this game. With the amount of yards they put up on the grounds, they had two running backs with over 100 yards, Dante Freeman, and then you had Hilliard, both over 100 yards.
I don't think New England really minded much.
But what hurt them, and Tennessee beat themselves in this one, because you cannot turn the ball over 4 times. You cannot miss 2 field goals and still think that you have a chance to win the ball game. They beat themselves. If they would have held on to all of those fumbles, sure, Ryan Tannehill, he gets the interception, fine. You give him 1 turnover, but you fumbled the ball 3 times. I mean, Tannehill had that strip sack from Judon, but especially the 2 running backs, you can't fumble the ball. You got to hold on to it. New England was just able to capitalize on it.
All right, next up, we got this NFC East matchup. The Eagles went to East Rutherford and had an ugly game. This is a very, very ugly game. And the New York Giants win. Looks like they're going to lose Daniel Jones for a couple weeks. But I don't like this game. It's just an ugly game. Like, I mean, it wasn't even like, I know the defenses played well, but it's almost like the offenses were like stuck in mud at the same time. Like, these teams need some work.
Absolutely. They both need a lot of work. And the Eagles were a team that had some momentum on offense heading into this game.
Yeah, but the Giants went and shut down their run, and because they're like, you guys aren't passing. And they showed.
That's where it comes down to Jalen Hurts. This game came down to Jalen Hurts because he threw 3 interceptions, but how many should he have thrown?
True. He looked bad. He looked bad as a passer in this game. Now, no, I'm not moving off of him because at the same time, even with your Mr. Respect on his name, I still don't think their weapons are all that great, personally. You throwing jump balls to Jalen Reagor?
Yeah, that's a bold move right there. I don't know about that. Nope.
I don't know if you got anything else for this, but I don't.
I don't know how Boston Scott gets more carries than Miles Sanders. I mean, I think Miles Sanders rolled his ankle. But
I do got one more thing for this.
What you got?
It looks like Jason Garrett was the one who wasn't targeting Kenny Galladay or you're getting the weapons involved, because it looks like Ingram got involved, Kenny Galladay got involved. They ran Saquon Barkley a little bit more. Not that it helped.
No,
I mean, they did get the win, but they didn't put up any numbers.
Still largely ineffective as an offense. Yeah.
Right. Next up, we had the Battle of the Bads. Well, one of the Battle of the Bads. We had 2 Battle of the Bads.
Man.
All right, we have the Falcons going into Jacksonville to face those Jaguars. Close game. Jaguars had a chance at the end of the game there.
How could the Jaguars let me down? How? This was like one of those games that you win. It's Atlanta.
But
They've
at the
been
same
playing very
time,
poor.
we've been talking about injuries with other teams, and the Jaguars do have some injuries going on. So this Atlanta.
They
It's
do.
just, I mean, we've talked about this. The Jaguars have a bad roster. This was not going to be built in a day, and it wasn't going to be built in the season. As much as I thought that things can be turned around, they're going to need more. And
They're
it
going to need a
doesn't
lot
help.
more. Yeah.
It doesn't help when your first round pick gets injured before the season.
Yeah.
It doesn't help when your top receiver goes down like week 3.
We do have to give some congratulations to the Falcons because they scored 21 points, which is 18 more than they scored in the 2 games before against Dallas and New England.
It is.
So congratulations.
They did get that.
Arthur Smith is looking like a genius for how he's using Cordero Patterson still, which is great.
That.
But the Jaguars, they look bad. They look bad. They needed garbage time for the yardage. They needed garbage time for their points.
Hey, but garbage time almost got back in this game. So is it really garbage time if you get back into the game? Just saying. Just saying. Now to other Battle of the Bads. We have the New York Jets taking on the Houston Texans. They went into Houston. They beat Houston 21-14. It looked like two bad teams playing each other. That's what this looked like. One team was just worse than the other.
Yeah, you're right. It wasn't that one team was better than the other. One team was just worse than the other. It's ridiculous because one of these teams just came off a victory against an 8-2 team. I don't get it.
Man. Nuance. They got up and they came down. Now, that being said, Zach Wilson did look better than he has earlier in the season. I ain't saying much, but it's saying something.
Yeah, that's not saying a whole lot. I don't think we were too impressed with him earlier in the season. He's coming back. It's good that he's off the injured list. He's getting those snaps, those starter reps, which is good.
Elijah Moore,
star,
stud.
Yeah,
stud.
Him and Corey Davis, that has the makings of a good wide receiver duo. You just have to make sure that you're protecting Zach Wilson and developing him enough so we can get the ball to him.
Now, something I do think hurt them. Oddly enough, Michael Carter, who's considered a smaller back, is their goal line guy. And it showed that they missed him in this game.
Yeah. Yeah, they missed that goal line presence.
But they've got, that trio, Michael Carter, Zach Wilson, Elijah Moore. I think they've got some other rookies, another Michael Carter. This rookie class is looking like it could be something to build on for the Jets.
Yeah, which is strange because when you think of the Jets, you think of poor draft choices, especially in the first round. And it's almost like a good general manager can turn these things around for you.
Well, next up, we have the most surprising game of the week. The Chargers went into Denver, and that altitude must really get you sometimes, because the Chargers lost to the Denver Broncos 28-13. Patrick Surtain II showed up. He got two, including a touchdown. And that's something. 2 picks, including a touchdown. Justin Herbert should have calmed his butt down.
Yeah.
Some things you just, focus on Austin Eckler. Eckler was balling out. Any thoughts on this one, Sean?
It almost looked like Denver was forcing Justin Herbert to be patient and make the throws. And I'm not sure what it was about that day, but he just wasn't making them.
No, he was not.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We're not going to get to a certain game just yet. We're going to get to a different game. Then we're getting to that game. The Minnesota Vikings went into Santa Clara, faced those 49ers, and they got beat by those 49ers. They tried to come back. Dalvin Cook got injured in this game. You got to think that affected this game. Definitely affected my fantasy team. And And Kirk Cousins played well, just not well enough. Those 49ers trying to make a late push. I mean, they could make some noise coming up here. Any thoughts, Sean?
Yeah, I think both teams are better than we thought they were a couple of weeks ago. Minnesota, I think, is a better team because that offense is rolling. Dalvin Cook being out now for a little bit of time, that's going to hurt them a little bit, just like it hurt them in this game. But you think there's a lot there with an offense. Plug Alexander Madison in, have a chance. San Francisco has been looking better the past couple of weeks. Their offense seems more in
Competent.
sync. That's a good word for it. Competence. Yeah,
Well, I mean,
George Kittle back.
George
yeah.
Kittle back.
Brandon
And-
Ayuk finally playing well.
As much as I like him as a receiver, but apparently they missed his blocking also. Apparently he's the one who brings the attitude that sets the tone for this offense, whether he's catching the ball or not.
Yeah, and that defense for San Francisco is looking pretty good too. Not quite the secondary, but the front seven's looking a little better. However, they also got hit with some injuries with Fred Warner going down. He'll be out for a little bit of time. You have Dre Greenlaw, who just came off the IR, is pretty much going to go right back on the IR. Tough
Sadly.
breaks on the defense.
All right, next up, we have another one of them. Well, no. Now we have your game. The Rams went into Green Bay, faced those Packers, lost 28-36. Don't let the score fool you. The Rams were not that close. Matthew Stafford looked like he had flashbacks of Detroit in this game. Shame on Van Jefferson, I think it was. Cooper Kupp threw a beautiful touchdown pass to him, and he stepped out of bounds. Shame on him. But Green Bay just rocked this team. I mean, there was nothing. My favorite part of this whole game was Aaron Rodgers making Jalen Ramsey look dumb on a scramble.
Aaron Rodgers with the fractured COVID toe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any thoughts, Sean? I'm going to let you go.
Yeah, the Rams' collection of all-stars came into Lambeau Field to take on the injury-riddled Packers squad. And comparing the two rosters on paper, you're thinking the LA All-Stars should have won this game by a large amount, because the two big mismatches I saw were the Rams wide receivers against the Green Bay secondary, which on paper you got to give the advantage to Los Angeles, because Green Bay was still without Jair Alexander. And then the other big mismatch coming into this was the Rams front seven going against the Green Bay offensive line, who's missing David Bakhtiari, Elkton Jenkins, Josh Myers. You're thinking three potential starters that are out. And I'm thinking, man, Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Leonard Floyd, they're all going to tee off on Rodgers. They only got to Rodgers once. And even that sack, Rodgers was just a hair, just a small amount from actually escaping that sack. So for me, a lot of credit goes to Joe Barry, the defensive coordinator. Now, I wasn't necessarily a big fan of his hiring during the offseason, but he and Matt LaFleur had worked together previously when they were on the Rams. Barry brings a different attitude to the team, and different attitude is what they needed. Because
way better than Mike Pettin.
if this were Mike Pettin, and if this were his defense, they would have come out lackluster, I think is the best word I have for it. I think they would have shrunk at the challenge of the Rams offense. But with Barry, it's a different attitude. They have a swagger to them. When they signed Barry, I was hoping for something a little bit more aggressive, maybe a blitz-heavy scheme when he came to town. But that's not Barry's style, because Barry can be aggressive when he needs to be. It's strategic. He prefers to put pressure on the quarterback using a four-man rush, dropping 7 back into coverage. And with Green Bay's injury-riddled roster, that seemed like a really poor decision, but it worked. And it worked so well on
It,
Sunday because even
it
with
does help that Rashawn Gary has been showing up.
exactly, you have people who are stepping up because you're missing Zadarius Smith still. Jair Alexander is still not in the field. The Packers rarely
Oh,
blitzed Matt
wait.
Stafford.
How about that, Eric Stokes? Just wondering. Just wondering.
Just, I, does it make me think any less he was a reach? Yeah, that can be debated. That can be debated.
Ah, now
But-
we're debating.
But the Packers were able to rely on pressure from their front four, and they dropped everybody else back into coverage. Matt Stafford struggled. He threw that back-breaking pick six late in the third quarter that really put this game out of reach. The Packers
And almost
pressured
threw
him.
another
Yeah,
to the therefore mentioned
Eric Stokes. The Packers put pressure on him, 15 dropbacks, and they got 2 sacks on him. They held Cooper Kupp scoreless and under 100 yards.
Yep.
And I think a lot of credit is also owed and due for the Packers offensive line coach. Aaron Rodgers had 15 pressures on the day, but he had only sacked once. They put such a beautiful game on that. I wasn't a big fan of the Joe Barry signing, but here he is proving me wrong, and I'm happy about it.
All right, so next up, we have the Browns traveling to Baltimore. And honestly, this one's being a stinker. Bit of a stinker. Now, this game does have my WTF moment, but it's a series of moments. So, we have a situation where I forgot who started it. No, I think it was Lamar. So Lamar Jackson throws an interception. It's at the end of the half, the first half. So then the Browns are going down, and I believe this is where they try to trick play with Jarvis Landry, and he fumbles, and the Baltimore Ravens get it back. Well, then Lamar, or no, I don't know what happened, but I think someone either fumbled or threw another. I think he threw another interception. Well, then going back the other way, Odafe Owa gets another fumble, and it's just like, okay, so we just want to give the ball back and forth like it's like hot potato.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't really care for this game. I know people want to diss Baker, but there was a lot of drops from what I saw. Meh. That's how I feel about it. I don't know how you feel, Sean.
No, I feel the same way about that. It was not a pretty game. I didn't expect it to be a good game from Cleveland, considering all their injuries, what they were going through, and they lost Jack Conklin to an injury, and that one looked pretty serious.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see him walking off the field?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he's going to be done for the season. And I didn't expect much from the Browns. I expected more from the Ravens. The Ravens got the victory. 6 points. They made it much closer than it should have been. You can't throw
They wanted to
4
win this game.
interceptions. They didn't. You can't throw 4 interceptions and expect to win, which I think is one of the very few times a team has been able to throw 4 interceptions and still walk
I've seen
away.
it with 5. By the way, I've seen it with 5. Just saying. Tony Romo against the Bills. All right. From one stinker to another, the Monday night game. The Washington football team beat the visiting Seattle Seahawks 17-15. Sean, it seems like you got something to say, so I'm going to let you go.
I want to focus on Russell Wilson. Because what I was thinking was, during the offseason, Russell Wilson tried, but not tried, to get traded. It's clear that his time in Seattle is running out. Did he rush back too soon from that mangled finger in an attempt to improve any trade stock that he has to come back and lead Seattle to the playoffs or to some second half push. Did he come
Not
back
happening.
too soon? Because he has not looked like the same Russell Wilson that we've been used to, the one who's accurate, who has good pocket presence, who takes command of a game.
I got a question though.
Didn't look that way.
Is Russell Wilson's time running out,
Pete Carroll?
or is Pete Carroll's time running out?
Pete Carroll's time has to be running out because to me, it seems like Pete Carroll doesn't want to change his plan. He wants to run more. Okay, guess what? You got Chris Carson injured. You got Alex Collins sometimes injured. You have DJ Dallas. You have
Who?
Travis Homer. You have who else you got? Right? You're expecting to. Yeah, it makes me think. Is he trying to be like Urban Meyer? Because earlier this year, Urban Meyer was saying, you know what? I want my optimal offense to have 500 yards, 250 running, 250 throwing. Guess what, Urban? This isn't the Big Ten. You're not playing Northwestern or Indiana every week. You can't put up 500 yards of offense with an even 250 split between running and passing. Not going to happen. And it almost seems like Pete Carroll wants to come back, and it's almost that same mentality of we got to dominate the run game. Okay, you can dominate the run game because we've seen Cleveland do it. We've seen Dallas do it this year. But neither of them are over 200 yards rushing. You don't have the offensive line to do it. You don't have the personnel to do it. You have
But at the
DK
same time-
Metcalf. You have Tyler Lockett, Gerald Everett. You have all these offensive weapons to throw to, but you want to emphasize the run game.
Here's the problem. First thing, Pete Carroll. Last time I checked, Reggie Bush and Lendell White are not on your squad. First and foremost.
Sure aren't.
Second of all, Russell Wilson is all worldly. How about, again, I said about Green Bay. Who else did I say this about? I said about New Orleans. Seattle's another one. I know they invest in DK Metcalf, but recycling tight ends is not going to get it there. Just picking nonsense offensive linemen are not going to get you there. His time might be running thin, and they might get rid of him to, give an olive branch to Russell Wilson, saying, something, we're willing to change things.
They have to do that quick, though. They have to do that soon.
All that being said, I think that's it for this week on the recap. Sean, words of wisdom.
Oh man, words of wisdom. We just had Thanksgiving. We have Christmas coming up. There's going to be a lot of food eaten, a lot of good food, a lot of good drinks being drinking, a lot of good snacks being snacked in. So don't forget to get that exercise in. Go outside for a walk, jog, ride a bike, depending on the weather where you're at. Ride a skateboard. Just get out there, be active this holiday season. It's delicious. Take care of yourself.
My ones are basically, we're fans. All us fans, we're emotional people. A lot of stuff gets to us. Don't let sports ruin your life or rule your life. There's a lot more out there living that you can do. There's a lot more important things out there. As much as I love my team, I got things in my life that are way more important, and so do you. Don't let it rule you.